Okay. Then the second time when you went through dump, where did you get the drugs? I went by George Jackson's house. Was that when he was on the porch? Yeah, he was on the porch. Well, what happened was I called Dump when I seen Dump. Dump, that's my cousin baby daddy. So he lived right with my cousin. So when I see him, I'm like, what's up, Red? He like, I'm on a call or whatever, trying to get. I'm like, man, when you holler, tell him I'm trying to do the same thing or whatever. So he said, I'm gonna call him. So probably about an hour, 2 hours, he pulled up back around there. He said right around the corner right now by Jackson, George house. He said on Jackson Street. He like, come around there. When I went walk around there, Telly was, the way the house is, they got a yard around it with a little porch at the end. George was right there on the gate by the apartment, and Telly was sitting on the step. And I went in the gate, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Then the third time you bought that quantity, and again, was this? He came straight to my house this time. Okay. Where was your house at that point? On Josephine. 2022 Josephine Street. Alright. And who did you have to go through in order to get in touch with him? I see him coming down the street. I flagged his truck down. He driving a Cadillac truck or whatever. So when I seen him, a Cadillac truck? A Cadillac truck. Escalade, yeah. So when I see him, I flagged him down. He pulled over. I got in the car and I gave him the money. Told him what I'm trying to get. He said, alright, give me a few minutes. I'm going to be around here. And I was just sitting on my mama's porch and it was kind of getting dark. And I just seen him come walking up the street. We went in the house and he told me I shorted him $150 too. So he made me give him the $150. He told you you shorted him? I shorted him $150, yeah. The money was kind of short. Okay. So we went in the house. He gave it to me in the brown paper bag. Did you give him $150? Yeah. I gave it out of my pocket right then and there. Okay. And again, was that hard? Meaning crack. Cocaine? Yeah, hard. The fourth time you got, are we talking about a half a kilo of crack? It's half a kilo, half, 2 quarter keys. Okay. The fourth time that you got it, who did you have to go to in order to get in touch with? I seen him out on his auntie's porch. Which auntie was that? Do you remember? On the porch. On Josephine Street? Yeah, on Josephine Street. Where did he give you the drugs? He was right there on the porch. When I went down there, I seen him. I hollered at him, gave him the money. When I gave him the money, he left. He just told me to be around here because he ain't never had a cell phone on him. He don't really do that. He just be all around the neighborhood and the alleys, riding around, whatever, like that. Okay, did you ever get soft? The last time I got some soft from him. How much of it was soft? A quarter key. You stated earlier you didn't really know how to deal with soft? No, I took that. I got some partners down the street, like the dudes who are in my conspiracy and stuff. They sell powder bags. So when you say down the street where? On Josephine Street. Like Josephine and LaSalle, stuff like that. Okay, and is that, how many blocks down from you is that? Like 2 blocks. You got Simon Boulevard, Liberty Street, and then the next street is LaSalle. You gave it to who? It was Kevian. Then it was Kevian, TD, Terrell Holmes, whatever. They ain't on the charges though. Okay, did they sell soft all? Yeah, they sell powder, like individual powder bags, dime bags, 20 bags, stuff like that. Okay, so on your side of Josephine, you were selling, they sell all like crack rocks, heroin, and weed. Then a few blocks down, they sell powder. Yeah, down the street, they sell powder, yeah. And everything else. Was there a time, if I can just kind of go back a little bit, I apologize, when you were getting from George and he actually gave you some soft? Yeah, it was by Daniel's house. This is like, that was in 2005. We had came from Cheesecake Bistro, the restaurant or whatever. He said he was waiting on Telly or whatever. Who were you with? George Jackson. So where did you go with George Jackson? It was in Cheesecake Bistro. I think I'm saying it right, on St. Charles between Josephine and St. Andrew Street. It was like a little restaurant right there. Okay. And you guys went and we were sitting in there eating or whatever, trying to kill time or whatever, waiting on Telly. Waiting on Telly for what? To bring the Coke or whatever. Because he said he ain't have it right then and there. He was waiting on Telly to bring it to him. Okay. So we sit there and we ate and he ordered some steaks. I ordered a cheese pizza. So we sat there and ate or whatever. By the time, we finished or whatever, we went back on Jackson and Dryades. Jackson and Daniil. Jackson and Dryades. So we went by his mama's house or whatever. We sitting there waiting. Went by whose mama's house? George Jackson. Because my mama's still right there, and about 3 houses down, his mama's still right there. So we were sitting on the porch waiting. He called. He on his way now. So when he got up, he's still by this is an apartment right next to his house. Next to whose house? George Jackson, his mama's house. Right there where he be at. Alright. So we was waiting by the apartment. And so when we seen the car came, the headlights turned right there, the red Altima or whatever, until Telly got out. He was coming up the street. Who was driving that car? That's the car. Who is his cousin? Whose cousin? Telly Hankton cousin. Okay. So she dropped him off? Yeah, she dropped him off. He got out the car and come walking. That's Daniil Street, coming towards Jackson. He went in Daniel's house. I don't know Daniel's last name, but he went in Daniel's house. Then George went down and he told me to wait. When he went down there, about 2 minutes he came out and stood on the porch like, come on. Told me I want to walk down there by the porch and went in and sat on the porch. He gave me 2 soft 4.5s. I'm like, hey man, he gave you 2 what? Soft 4.5. 2 soft 4.5? 4.5s, yeah. Ounces of coke or whatever. Okay, so what did you do when he gave you? I told him, hey, I don't want this shit. I'm like, give it to me hard or whatever. He like, alright, come on. So he stepped back in the house, pulled me in the house. And when I go in the house, Telly was sitting there. He was counting some money on the table. Had a little gun right there. And they had like 12 to 14 4.5s right there. Some hard, some soft. How many? About 14 of them. So I set the soft back down. He like, go on and get which one you want. So I was looking for the biggest 4.5 hard, so I took 2. Okay. So when you went inside that house, what was on the table? He had like 14 things like in a row, like lined up. How were they packaged? It was bagged up in the sandwich bags, and it was like just sitting there. So there were 14 of them? Yeah, lined up right there. Were some soft? Some were soft, some were hard, yeah. And did you return your soft? And yeah, I set my 2 soft down and got the 2 hards or whatever. Who was inside that house? George Jackson, Telly Hankton, and Daniel. Telly was sitting there on the sofa, counting some money on the table right there. Going back a little bit in time, talking about Pluck, was there a time when things started going south on Josephine Street with Pluck? Well, when he had bought his car, he had bought, I don't know, dude was tripping about us sitting on his auntie's porch or whatever. Telly Hankton or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So Pluck sell heroin. I was just selling crack or whatever. Did Pluck always sell heroin? Well, for Terrell and Dump, no. He was selling under them or whatever. But when they went to jail, he was on his own. Was he also selling crack cocaine for them? Yeah, he was selling crack, powder, and heroin. 2001, 2002, when he was hanging with Dump and Terrell. And so when Terrell and Dump went to jail, what ended up happening with Pluck? He started selling heroin, just all heroin by himself, whatever. He was doing good, you know what I'm saying? When you say he was doing good, what do you mean? He came up with the money. He had like about $70,000 strong, you know what I'm saying? So he was getting like a quarter key of heroin or whatever. That's not an ounce of heroin, but you know, you would make like $15,000 off each ounce of heroin. You know what I'm saying? So, does a quarter key of heroin cost a lot more than a quarter key of crack? Yes. A quarter key of heroin, Pluck paying like $24,000 for it. So Pluck was doing well. Yeah, he was doing good. And he was younger? Yeah. So what did he do with his money? Well, at first he had bought like a car. At first he was trying to buy a motorbike that Telly's cousin was selling. But Telly didn't want the dude to buy it, I guess. I don't know what's the reason. Do you know which cousin of Telly's? Hankton. And she had a motorbike. Well, the dude Daniel sold it to Flail, and Flail was his old man. Okay. So Flail was trying to sell the bike. Pluck wanted to buy it. He like, no, you can't buy it, or whatever. So we went and bought him a Maxima. I think it was a 1999 Maxima from Rodney Robinson, Doodoo. Wrecked it the next day right there on Josephine and Simon Boulevard. Were Doodoo and Pluck good friends? Yeah, they hustled together. Every day. So what did Pluck do once he wrecked the first car, probably, I don't even know, say if it's a week or a month, but he had bought a new car, a 2003, bought a 2004 Maxima, and he put some rims and shit on it, rims on it and things like that. Made it fancy? Yeah, made it fancy, royal blue. Call it a fishbowl because it's glass windows, no tinted windows or nothing. He had like his 20-inch rims on it. So you mentioned a motorbike. Did people in the Josephine Street area ride on motorcycles? Yeah, it don't matter. Motorcycles, dirt bikes, four-wheelers. Telly had the most. He had about 3-4 different motorbikes. 2 big old Raptors. 2 big old what? Raptors, four-wheelers. They called them like Banshees and stuff like that. Dirt bikes. He had a chopper motorcycle too. Is that the kind of motorcycle with the handlebars? Yeah, it looked like a Harley Davidson, all chromed out and shit. So when Pluck got the second Maxima, was he still dealing drugs in the Josephine? Yeah, he was still selling heroin. He was probably right there on Josephine, but the way you had Hankton still right there, then Durney and them still out on 2011. So they ain't riding around some grandpa, Mr. Stay right across the street. So when we ain't sitting on porch, we sitting on porch. When we ain't sitting on porch, we sitting on 2011. Was 2011 Latoya and Damien and Durney? Durney stayed there, but their house, their mama was on drugs, so it was bust wide open. People selling drugs out there. Like, we ain't even go to school. We used to hang in there, smoke weed. You got all types of dudes from the project, just like a party house or whatever. Right. My house with Pluck, where we sit at, see Hankton, her daughter is my uncle's daughter. So that's my cousin. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I had a right to sit on that porch because that's my cousin's porch. You know what I'm saying? So we sit there on the porch. Pluck sit on the porch and shit. So one day we was out there. Telly come down there. Told him to get off the porch. Go ahead. Say, nigga, now what you tripping for? You know what I'm saying? Did he tell you to get off the porch? He was telling Pluck and them to get off the porch. Well, we all hang together. So it's just like the same thing because he like, y'all, get from over here or whatever. Get off the porch. So Pluck asking him, why you tripping? Like, what's up, man? He's like, man, you can't sit here. He like, I'm sitting here, so why you telling me something? Did Telly, before that incident, did he ever say anything to Pluck? Told him to stop parking his car right there on Josephine by house. Told him to stop parking around the corner because he didn't want him drawing no heat, because he didn't want people to think that Pluck was selling drugs for him. Because Pluck's car was fancy? Or why would that draw some heat? I guess, yeah, it was fancy. But at the same time, Pluck is selling drugs, and he wasn't buying drugs from him, so he feel like if you ain't selling drugs to him, he don't want you by his people.